The Bill Clark Show, presented by Dr. Pepper. And now, Coach Bill Clark.
Welcome in. It's the Coach Bill Clark Show, presented by Buffalo Rock and Dr. Pepper. Landrum Roberts, Molly Robinson, I'm Pat Smith, along with Coach Bill Clark. Coach, we talked about last week, the week before was going to be Separation Saturday. Seems that way every week in the SEC. Another impressive win for Alabama on the road at Missouri.
Man, you know, I think first the competition level, and I know you guys get to talk about this every day, it's really unbelievable. Those guys that have come in to make these rosters, like the Missouri running back that was with Coach Vincent last, you know, fair, unfair, whatever you want to say, it's making for some great games. And obviously what Missouri has done, you know, Coach Drinkwitz and those guys, obviously we look in the end zone, we see the upgrades being made, you know, looking like an SEC stadium. But that was a heck of a game, and you got to give Alabama tons of credit for finding a way to win in the end against a great home crowd, and I think a good team in Missouri.
And how about the poise, the continued poise of quarterback Ty Simpson? The 4th and 8 throw?
Yeah. I mean, like we said, how to get a guy that's that accurate, coach's son, athlete, I mean, that's all the things you want. And I think likes those moments, you know, enjoys those moments. And that's really what you want out of a guy who's a really real competitor who wants the ball in those moments, and it's showing.
One thing that we talk about, and this kind of goes to the Missouri-Alabama game, is just the parity. I don't know, we've talked about that the last couple of years about how, you know, the teams like Alabama and Georgia, they don't have like 3-4 deep of 5 stars like they used to. Yeah. The talent is spread out along the league. But, man, when you look at a team like Missouri being able to do what they did, going out to get Hardy, their defense is for real. I mean, this is a program just like others in the SEC. They're really stepping up and using their money and putting that roster together to where they're very competitive.
Well, you remember I had the talk with an SEC ops guy, and he was telling the story because the defensive end, and I can't remember his name, but Missouri came from Georgia.
Came from Georgia, yep.
You know, he was one of the first ones to break a contract. I mean, he had a good contract.
So he had the contract with Georgia.
He had the contract with Georgia, and it was broken, and Missouri paid the buyout. Missouri paid the buyout to get this guy. So, but in this game of money and getting the players and paying the players, I think give them credit. They've used their resources well. They've got a well-built team. I like what they do. They run the ball. They're physical on defense. I mean, it was a great game. And once again, Alabama found a way to win the game in the end, and that's what we're looking for. Who finds a way to win the game in the end?
Eli Drinkwitz, I don't know how much you've interacted with him, but he has exceeded my expectations, what he could do at Missouri. Yeah. What is it about Eli, besides I see his personality, and that's got something to do with it, but makes him so effective there?
Yeah, I think this is a guy, you know, if you go back and look at his history, you know, I mean, he was at Spain Park, you know, and I remember him telling me, hey, I coached Spain Park's junior high 1 year, you know. But I think, once again, a guy that's worked his way up, you know, GA at Auburn, App State, you know, and I think when you get those people that have worked their way up the ladder, and you got to have experience at places, you can't just jump from one to the other. But I like his background. I like his history. I think there's a toughness there. And you see it, you know, you look at him and you wouldn't think, you know, this guy's, you know, undoubtedly smart. But I think the toughness and the grit, I think that's what we see. I think his teams play that way.
You know, speaking of toughness, the difference of this football team in Tuscaloosa from when they lost in Tallahassee to what you've seen back-to-back weeks against ranked SEC opponents.
Yeah.
They didn't blow them out. It was very tough games. Had a little adversity at times during the game, but it says a lot about a football team finding a way to win. And it seems like Alabama now is fitting back into the role of their head coach because Kalen DeBoer is completely different looking on the sideline, in my opinion, than he did last.
Well, you know, I've said that every week. I said, this is what they look like now. This is what a coach – and, you know, there's the intensity versus frantic, you know, passionate, you know, versus overboard. I mean – he looks the part now, and I don't see the stupid things at all out of Alabama. Now, to get his OC in there, Grubb, I guess, has allowed him to become more of a head coach when you know that guy thinks like you think. So I'm not having to check him all the time. He's been with me, and, you know, he's part of the game plan, and he's helping make decisions, but he's getting to be the head coach. What I love and that I see out of him is when something bad happens, you watch him, he's immediately, hey, we're good. Let's go. I mean, that's what it is. It's a constant, even when you don't believe it yourself. I mean, you know, there's so many times in your mind you're like, oh, crap, I can't believe this just happened. But your team, just like leadership, leading from the front, you got to show them we're okay. You got to show them the passion. And I think the lack of bullcrap penalties, and you're going to get some penalties, but they're a totally different team, in my opinion. I mean, go back and look at some of that sickening stuff from last year, and you haven't seen it. And that's why, because they got talent. I mean, let's not be mistaken here. I mean, he's got one of the most talented teams in the league, but they're playing hard. And then their life flashed before their eyes in the first game, and he's coaching like that now.
Speaking of the first game, that's the last time we saw this Alabama team lose. I would say that Florida State offense, the toughest that this Alabama defense has faced thus far this year, this Tennessee offense is totally different deal and what they have coming in. Tennessee defense, and I know we'll get to that, but Tennessee's offense, Chris Brazell, he can be a problem. Yeah,
I think what we're seeing out of them, and go back and look at this. I saw a really good, there's so much great stuff you can find on the internet, but the use of two tight end sets now. And so think of two tight ends in the backfield, almost in an inverted bone. We got a deep back, we got the quarterback, and then two tight ends. They're doing a lot of things with inserts, and now you're still sitting out here with these two wideouts that can smoke it, with a quarterback that can get it there. They're making people defend the run. There's a lot of good things, but look and see how much they use 12 personnel. That's really been a kind of an ad, because we were thinking 11 personnel, the two wideouts and the extra with a Y sitting in there, doing a lot more with 12 personnel. I think their offense has really grown with the quarterback as well. I think he's really doing a good job. But they can score. They've had to score, so it's gonna be a different matchup this week.
Yeah, 48 points a game. They lead the nation in scoring. So might be a few points put up there at Bryant-Denny Stadium. All right, let's talk about the Auburn Tigers. How would Coach Bill Clark would have handled that situation before the end of the first half if you were still on the sideline?
I feel like I've lived it. I feel like I've lived that situation.
Tell the story. For those that might not remember, tell the story about the Louisiana Tech game.
Yeah, and I think that's a different game. It was at the very end of the game. We had a situation where Spencer Brown's going in the end zone. I'm looking right at it. His knee hits as he's going in the end zone and puts the ball across. And we talked about this on Monday's show. So real simple. Knee goes down. He puts the ball across the line. And I couldn't really tell if his knee was down. So I'm thinking it's a touchdown. But it's like bang, bang. Knees down, ball hits, and the ball pops up. When it hits the ground, he's put it across the line, and it pops up. Official does nothing. It lands right in one of their guys' hands. He runs down the sideline. They tackle him. So, conference. He's waiting on the video. Louisiana Tech has no video on that sideline. He knows what it was. He said, well, I was letting it play out. And I'm talking, because I'm here. I'm right there with him. I said, wait a second. It's one of the two. He's down or it's a touchdown. He's down or it's a touchdown. Well, I wanted to let it play out. I said, but it was one of those two things. He said, I do. But so now, because they're doing that, they're letting the call on the field go. What gets the weight? It's not 50-50. There's a weight on the field. So now the weight on the field. Now, and I'm not saying exactly to this play, but I'm using that as an example. We're in overtime. Now, not guaranteed we would have won, but there would have been a touchdown. We're on the inside. Maybe we don't score, but they line up, we stop, and they kick the field goal. Of course, we have a penalty on the field goal kick, they kick it on and win. My point on that is it was this new thing where we're letting it play. We're letting it play. And I think we've created this in the officials where they're being told to let it play out. But now they have to overturn a call. Convincingly. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly what would have happened. Maybe it's so bang, bang to this guy. But that's where you go. If it is this plane, right? If it's this plane, and as it crosses the line, it's a touchdown. Now, did it happen right as it goes? I just want to know what that guy on that side said. Did he say, well, I wanted to let it play out because I know I've got video? That's what's driving me crazy now. We're trying to let video fix it every time, but there's still a weight to the call. Now, that's a long explanation, but when your life's on the line. Now, the difference between the end of the game and that period of the game, where in there do you say this is horrible and I'm pissed, and it turns into a negative as you go in the locker room? And I think that's always the question. I had that same set of officials going into the Rice game, and that was the COVID year. I get the apology from the conference. I get the apology from them, and they're calling my game that would take us to the championship game. It was Rice 2020. Get the apology, head official. And I really don't want to see him. But I've got to use them. You're giving me the same crew that just cost me this game.
Unreal.
The first half was one of the worst call games I've ever had. I mean, we get every penalty goes against us. So I show my butt walking into they happen to be where we are. And I follow them up and I'm like, I can't do any worse than we're doing. Second half, I thought was a fair called game. We win the game. But what
were you telling them going into the locker room?
It wasn't repeatable.
Well, I mean, just the essence of it.
The basics of it was you apologized to me for a bad call correctly, and now you are going out of your way to call it the other way. I don't understand. I didn't call you out in the media. I didn't go overboard, and now you're going out of your way to call against me for what? I mean, and us, and so these are human beings that are calling these games. So there's always that factor. So when you know what it does in a game, and you can see how animated I'm getting right now, where though you got to have a switch in your head that goes, this is hurting us. I mean, if I feel like there's a vendetta or they're out to get us, or is it just incompetence, because that can happen as well. But when you lay awake at night and you're worried about officials, it's a real thing. And it's like, where are these officials from? Why, how did this one guy call 8 penalties in a game? I mean, I've lived that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the next time this same group comes to your game, he's nowhere to be found. And they can't tell you where he went. Now, this is 1% of the time, but my only question to Coach Freeze is, though, you've got to say to yourself, and I'm not saying he beat him. I'm just saying, does it get you so much that you can't overcome it? And that's the question we got to ask.
Well, and body language from
Right.
Freeze. And I'm not saying that this played into the 40 yards of offense they had in the second half, but it looked like that call stuck with him for the next 2 quarters.
That's it.
And he never got over it. And that has to filter down to your team.
That's my point I'm trying to make here. And I think you've got to be able to have a switch, even when you feel this way, unless you feel like that's going to do you some good. Now, if you're questioning somebody's integrity, you better be right. I mean, because they are human. And if I've questioned your integrity, they're going to go out of their way to show you something. And that's my worry. Now, there's so much being watched now. There's so much video. I think there's less of that than we've ever had because it's harder to do that. I think you can screw up, you can miss, but I do feel like he let it take him into the second half. Now, I will say this too. Kirby Smart, he is known for, I hadn't seen what you're doing, even though I would have expected that out of Auburn, maybe you don't know exactly what they're going to do, but I think he is a great adjuster. You can make a change. You can make a big difference. And I think once they knew this is Auburn's plan, they were better against it.
All right, so let's go to the timeout that supposedly Kirby didn't call. Have you ever gaslighted an official before?
I don't remember doing anything quite like that, but.
Oh, it was third down.
The thing that was funny to me,
third down.
And I would say this with Kirby sitting here, and I told y'all that the full team stem that they got away with for years. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm asking, how can everybody on the defense move and cause a person to jump? That's been a rule since football started. I mean, believe me, I'm a defensive guy. Yeah. And if there was something we could have got away with, we definitely moved. And ours was you think we're in under front and we're going to go to over front, or you think we're in 3 down and we're going to go to 4 down. Every once in a while you'd got to jump. But if there was ever a time where you said move, right before the ball snapped, it's on you. They got away with that, and they've gotten away with it the last 4 or 5 years. I don't know how they did it, but they did it so well and in conjunction. But it was always either the start of a drive or on 3rd down. Mm. And so he was, that's what he was talking about. He said, well, I've gotten flagged from that. Well, it's just started because he got away with it for years.
Oh, yeah. No,
so
there's no
that
doubt.
part of it, and that's another story. But I do think, he got caught in that one. Yeah. He got caught. Whatever he was doing.
Well, so. Kirby was being smart, and that leads us into one of our great sponsors, Smart Bank.
Yeah, this was yesterday, so I'm at a Smart Bank meeting, and I think all phases of anything, just like what we do, is important. One of the things that Smart Bank's got is great customer service. We were talking about yesterday, we have 10 different folks in Sevierville, Tennessee, so you get a good Southern accent when you're so when you need something, you're not talking to somebody in Bangkok or Thailand, you're talking
New
to
Delhi.
That's right. A local human being. And what I heard from people, and I hear from their customers all the time with this great satisfaction rating is that they have somebody they can talk to that gives them real answers.
Coach, staying on the Auburn football situation just for a minute, the offense continues to sputter. Granted, they have played 3 consecutive ranked opponents.
Yeah.
It's not like they're playing Sisters of the Poor. I mean,
That's
these are top SEC type talent. But when you look at that offense, is there one particular thing that just jumps out to you where if somebody said, hey, Coach, give us your opinion on what you're seeing on the offensive side, what would it be?
I think identity, and I hate to use that because that sounds like some Joe Schmo, guy to just, they don't have an identity. But I think the question goes back to this thing he said early on, which was the 3-headed calling system. And I'm like, who do you see yourself being? And I go back to what I've talked to you guys so many times about who's your quarterback. If this is your quarterback, what can he do the best? That's our offense. It's all based on what he can do. Now, we want the guy that can do it all, right? He needs to be able to throw it and run it. But this guy's a really good runner who's got a good arm. I think the thing for me, what they did in the first half is who I think they should be. And then I think you just work on, you've got an unbelievable receiver. He needs to be getting 8 targets. And they can be deep targets. They can be down the field targets. Now, if they're doubling him, you got to go to somebody else. But I think as good as – now, can they run it good enough to create 1-high situations or safeties that are sitting, even though it's a 2-high safety, look that they're flat-footed and we can get behind them, which they did on that post, and he gets hit. And I don't think, he got hit as he was throwing that ball, right? Make them defend the running game to throw the ball, to throw the quick game, to take the shots. And then you're going to get these one-on-one matchups and you're going to get some big plays.
If you're an Auburn fan or people that write those checks, I think the biggest concern, Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but Hugh Freeze was brought in for his offensive innovation. And he's got the table set with all of the pieces that he wanted prior to the season. The concerning thing for me would be he thought that this was going to be enough or effective given this talent heading into the season. Mm-hmm. You go back to Ball State, you go back to the South Alabama game. Offense was not dynamic in those games either.
Yeah.
I think it is what it is. And he guessed wrong or he figured wrong.
Well, we called this way back when we said, is this quarterback a guy that can do enough? And if you're not ready to run him, let's just use Georgia Tech. We're willing to run our quarterback at all times. Now, we're going to be super dynamic with it. There's going to be every kind of run scheme to get him to run the ball and still throw it. That's who you got. This is not a system quarterback. And I knew it. I think, anybody that was watching it knew it. And so, but if you've got somebody in your ear who's a throw guy, and I've lived it, this guy's not a system quarterback. He's not a 1, 2, 3, 4, he's a run the ball, play action, take your shots, but he can throw the quick game and he can make RPO throws. So I've got to do what fits him. Now, what could I add to that? I add tempo. I can add tempo to that. Now, the only worry you got is he could get hit in the pocket and you could lose him, but I just got to have number 2 ready because I'm going to run him. But my gosh, this guy's big and strong and fast. I thought the first half is what they should have looked like.
Yeah, you texted me during the game. And you were like, this is what I've been talking about, like right here.
That's it.
I mean, there's their identity that you were talking about.
Right. So the second question is always, they are going to adjust. Now, I don't know if everybody understands the adjustments now is they're looking at your film. It's not a still shot. Well, wait a second. We couldn't even do still shots, supposedly. So you had nothing other than what you drew up on a piece of paper. Now, not only do you know what you're doing, you're watching video of what they're doing. There is no gray area. Yeah. So you better be ready for the adjustment. You better be ready for the adjustment because they know what it is, and these guys are great at what they're doing. I mean, I felt like I would adjust pretty well to it. I got to be ready. What are they going to do to stop that? And there goes your second half.
What did you see specifically that they did?
They knew what you were doing. They knew it was a run game. They tightened up. They tightened more man coverage, played them closer, and then, of course, then you got to be ready to take your shots.
That's when you go up top.
That's when you go up top. And it may be first 3 plays of the game. I might come in second half. Second half, I'm coming back first 3 snaps because it's 1st and 10. We're taking a shot. What do you do on 2nd and 10? What do you do on 3rd and 10? And that was always the questions I said, because this is what we're going to do defensively. This is what, so I'd always, our offense, look, this is what they're going to do. They're going to be ready for it. When they make their adjustment, here's our adjustment.
Yeah.
And we're ready for it.
Wow. Just speaking of Webb Concrete Building Supplies, they just do a fantastic job. Great sponsor here.
Yeah, once again, I think we just alluded this to Smart Bank. Great people, great service. They started out with concrete, and now they have all the building supplies, flooring, everything you need for a home or a business. Locations all over the place. Our friends at Webb, great sponsors of ours.
Coach, in regards to the rest of the Southeastern Conference, what you're seeing, and we talk about this on a daily basis, the average margin of victory in SEC play this year is 10 points.
Yeah.
The last few years, it continues to go down.
Yep.
That you're seeing the parity across the
NFL.
league. When it's all said and done, you don't have to give me the teams.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, how many teams do you anticipate from the SEC making the college football playoff?
Gosh. What's the over-under right now?
What'd you say, 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at least 4. I think at least 4.
Yeah.
I think it's over.
Yeah. Based on what we've seen so far.
We're going to see if the strength of record or strength of whatever they're calling it now, quality of loss, because now this is the meat of the SEC schedule, and there is about to be some cannibalizing going on.
Oh yeah, that's going to be the problem. We can sit here and say 6 teams, probably pretty easy. I think as far as right now today.
Yeah, I mean, because you got a situation where you've got Texas A&M. Texas A&M will not play Georgia.
Right.
They won't play Alabama.
Right.
So Texas A&M's got a kind of an easier pathway.
Yeah, and I guess I had Oklahoma in my mind before.
Ole Miss goes to Athens this week.
Yes.
Norman next week.
Yeah.
But after that, it's
manageable.
Yeah. I 4.
Yeah.
I think
Seems like a solid number.
I think it's solid. I think it's pretty easy to say.
Heisman Trophy from this conference, from the SEC.
Yeah. I mean,
Ty Simpson, obviously.
Obviously. I mean, I think it's his to lose from this conference, And I mean, I think he's going to do nothing but get better, in my opinion. I think just more playing time, more experience. I hate it with Mateer did it just the injury. I mean, I wonder how much he even practiced last week. That's what he looked like.
Yeah.
He looked like, and all you can go on is what he does in a game. Man, we just got to get him to the game.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. That's how it usually works.
Yeah, 3 interceptions. Then you have to wonder now, that's the psychology in that football team, because he was the Superman.
Yeah. And
then the kryptonite showed up against Texas.
Yeah. I mean, you got a hand. You can't even let your hand hit the ground.
Yeah.
I just wonder, did he even practice? I mean, he was out there. Could he even hardly throw the ball? And I've done that. And we've done it before where we're like, man, we just got to get this guy the game. He's that good. Yeah. But you see why practice makes a difference. In Texas, once again, it's like I always say, when somebody's back is totally to the wall, and that's why I said, I tell our players, you understand who this team is right now? Oh, yeah. I said, no, you don't understand. They are early, late, everything. Their coaches are thinking their jobs are on the line. Do you understand how they're going to come into this game? It's life or death. We're just sitting here feeling good. We're riding high. And that's why can you stand up? We go back to Alabama. Can the coach keep you on that line? And that loss, and I think y'all talked about it, was that loss will create the rest of the year for them. Because, y'all feeling good? All right, let's turn this video on.
Yeah.
Before any Thursday, whatever, first thing he does, he shows you the end of the Florida State game. They're celebrating. They're like, oh, yeah.
I remember now.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, because we're human and they're kids.
Yeah.
And that's why I always talk about the difference between the mindset of that player versus a guy who's got a family. He's 25 years old in the pros. His whole contract's performance-based. These are still kids. And there's such a mental factor, and they're on campus, and they're all that stuff. And that's what the good ones do. They keep them in that state of mind.
Coach, got to ask you, a very disappointing end to the tenure of Trent Dilfer at UAB. Went 0-15 on the road, did not get a win, and the team's just been blown out after blowout after blowout. So they made a change on Sunday after a disappointing performance in South Florida. Just your overall thoughts on what took place and maybe the future of that football program.
Yeah, I would just say, and I would say it to both of you guys, not once did I have an interaction with Trent Dilfer that was bad. Not once did he not say good things to me. Now, we're paid to win games, and even though I've heard this on the air not many times, but a few times that he was following in a rebuild. I don't know where that came from, but that's not true. You came into good facilities, a good stadium, a team that expected to win, a strength coach that had been part of it. So, you're paid to win ball games, and I think he would be the first one to tell you that. So I think based on that performance, a change was needed. I think leadership of any organization, though, is where you got to look. And so the leadership of that university athletic department, that's where you got to look before a coaching hire is made on who's getting to make this decision. And as a former coach who put his heart and soul into a place, I'd like to hear that.
Well, Donahue Chevrolet, man, your car looked great.
Keeping it clean. In fact, Landrum sent me some good deals. I think we got truck month. Isn't that right,
Yeah,
Landrum?
truck month, Coach.
We got truck month. I think we got
2.9% APR, 72 months.
72 months. Wow.
Great deals.
That's 6 years back.
Oh, yeah. 12
and once again, great folks. I think that's kind of the theme of the show is these are good folks with good deals with a great product, Chevy product. And, of course, I do keep my truck very clean.
You certainly do. Coach, in our remaining minutes, I know you are staying extremely busy with Coach Safely right now. What's on the docket? What's happening now? Because I know you're doing a lot of traveling, doing a lot of things, trying to get the Coach Safely, the platform in other states.
Yeah, so thanks for asking me. We're updating our content, which is good. We'll be creating an app very soon. So we want to make sure, and I always say Alabama first, create an opportunity with NFL flag and more opportunities just for sports. We've partnered up with our veterans in our state. And then we've got 2 states that are kind of where we're looking to next with Georgia. We've got PSAs from Kirby Smart and Brent Key. So we're going into Georgia, and then Louisiana would probably be our next 2 states. Obviously, we've already got the law in Arkansas, but Georgia and Louisiana to go along with Alabama, and then keep taking this thing nationwide.
So I'm sorry. I was just going to say, if you get the Georgia and Louisiana done, do you think others will then fall in line, especially in the southeastern footprint?
We really do, and that's really our model is this southeastern footprint, and really just I think growing, but growing the right way. Where as we talk about A to Z, we're helping create sports, obviously getting coaches trained. We got the veterans deal going on and getting these to these other states. But I think once we get in a few more states, it's going to be easy to say, hey, look what we're doing in Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana.
When do you have the spinoff, Coach Wisely?
Yes, that's next.
where the coaches, they come in, they can pay for consulting, and you can say, Coach, what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you thinking here?
Me and Landrum have a very lucrative consulting business on the side. We've helped the Stallions out a few times with their quarterbacks.
Quarterback, yeah.
I've heard that.
We got championships.
Yeah.
Yeah, just rings. That's
our resume.
Well, they didn't.
You want to see my resume? It's up there on the.
So they're on Protective Stadium.
There it is.
Championships.
Just win, baby.
That's what we do. Nothing but championships.
That's right. That's why
Coach Wisely.
That's why I want to be with you guys.
But no, Coach Safely.
All right. So games this weekend of note that you're going to be paying very close attention to. It could be the SEC or just nationally.
Obviously we start with our in-state schools because I think the Tennessee. I just love the idea of defending that offense because this was the offense I always said. Because remember, just Art Briles, and I love to have seen this evolution. Obviously, what's going on Auburn? That's another biggie. I cut my eyes around Missouri, Ole Miss, Georgia. I was talking to Ron Corson, assistant AD from Georgia, who's on our Coach Safely board, and I was asking him about something about Coach Smart. And he said, well, he's kind of up to it right now. And, of course, we saw the great picture of those 2 guys and Lane making his comments, about
calories.
Yeah, about calories. So that's going to be a great – that's 3 great games right there.
Hey, don't forget, do not sleep on this one. Diego Pavia hosting Nussmeier and Brian Kelly in Nashville.
I tell you, boy, if you were not impressed by Vanderbilt after the Alabama game, just as we said, how they run their offense, defense, special teams – it was a thing of beauty to me, just the way they had always had an outlet for him, the quarterback run game. It's just, and of course we know we're dealing with smart guys there, but I tell you, just the way that team has played. Obviously, Jerry Kill being there has made a huge impact.
How about Indiana last week?
Oh my gosh, what a great game.
Hey, we said it before last week. We thought that they were better.
We did. Yep. Obviously, that quarterback's got to be in the Heisman.
Yeah.
Thoughts as well.
Very much so. Hey, another quick program. We appreciate everybody tuning us in each and every Thursday here on the program. For Molly Landrum, I'm Pat. That's Coach. Have a great week. Bill Clark Show, presented by Buffalo Rock and Dr. Pepper.
This has been the Bill Clark Show, presented by Dr.